we call you West because you're in California. Now, you're associated with UC Berkeley. It's my understanding. And then,
Correct.
yeah, good. And then we have Jessica Taylor, who is a NASA Langley person, and they're going to be our speakers today. So I'll mute myself and let them talk.
Great. I'll go ahead and get started. And I want to welcome everyone from across the world and across the country to the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is really going to be about you guys and your experiences. So I want to start off by, and you can feel free to enter your answers in the chat room, but I want to start off and ask you how many people know exactly what kind of career they want to do when they get old, when they become an adult. What kind of career do you, what would you like to do? Are you, do you know exactly what you want to do? Does it change depending on what kind of class you're taking on that subject area or what kind of teacher you might have? So if you guys could just chat a little bit or give me some responses in the chat room, that would be great. And while you do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about a tool you can use to help you decide what your career path or what your career direction might be. And this is an online resource called Green 360. It's a catalyst, and a catalyst is something for all you chemistry guys. A catalyst is something that helps something move forward. What this program is meant to do for everyone is to help students like yourselves move forward with their career direction. And so I'm going to just start off and tell you a little bit about Green 360. It is basically a career awareness, a career exploration, career planning type of online program. It is free. All you need is an email address to join the Green 360 program. And it's really about you guys discovering what your interests are. What kind of skills do you have or do you like to develop? Are you someone that likes to be outside and outdoors? Are you someone that likes to work in an office with people? Do you like to teach younger children or be around younger children? But it's really all about getting yourself prepared to make some decisions. And these decisions can even be, what high school am I going to go to? What classes do I want to take next year in school that's going to help me further my interests or develop some skills that I know I need to have for my career path or my career direction. So we're going to hop right into the Green 360 Career Catalyst, and I'm going to take you guys to the website right now, and we'll just, this is what you see when you go onto the website. And like I said, the idea behind the Green 360 Career Catalyst is all you need for a registration is an email address. So we're going to get started, and it's all about your decisions and who you are. So it starts out with 2 learning centers. The learning centers are Know Yourself, and there's a few activities in here that you can do to help you understand who you are, what you care about. And the second learning center is called Connect with Others. And in this learning center, it's really about putting those interests and skills together and collaborating with others to help you understand what kind of career direction you would want to take. So I'm just going to start real quickly here with the Know Yourself Activity Center. And I'm ready to go. I hope you guys are too. The first part of this learning center is called Interest Profile, and here's all of the different activities you can do. And the Interest Profiler is basically a yes, dislike, like kind of questions. And you fill out these questions, and at the end of this, you get results. And the results tell you a little bit more about yourself. And it's interesting because sometimes the students go, wow, this is exactly what I think. And other times they're like going, what? I don't want to do that. So it's a really interesting way to get to know yourself. My 3 top interests are investigative, social, and realistic. So the question is, well, what do I do with this? This is interesting. So I can dig a little bit deeper and click on some things that are interesting to me, or what kind of hobbies I like to have in each one of these interest center. But what I'd like to do is jump all the way over here to connect to your world, because not only do we want to connect your interests, we want to connect what you care about. And this is all about your world and what you care about. And you guys are the change makers of our world right now. You have the power to lead us forward in a manner which is beneficial to the environment, beneficial to our economy and growth. And you're going to be our decision makers. And so there's a number of areas here that you might be interested in. Let's just pick healthy environment. This gives you a little bit of information about what healthy environment is all about. And it also gives you some careers that are associated with this type of environment. Maybe you're more interested in the foods. And so your career choices might be, in the agricultural area. So once you do this, once you go through your interest profiler and connecting to your world, what's nice about this program, it gives you some career matches. And again, these are potential career matches. This is not telling you what to do, but it's giving you some ideas of what you can do. And so each one of your career match will give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down, which you can pick. And here's an example of what I picked, that some of the career matches they gave me that I thought, oh, okay, these could be interesting, but fuel cell engineer, not so interested in that. So once you get together and you have some information about yourself, some information about what you're interested in and connecting your skills to, the last part in here is a change maker statement. And what a change maker statement does, I don't know if you guys have ever heard about an elevator speech, but an elevator speech basically is a brief introduction about who you are and what you care about. And there's a couple examples in here you can look at, but it allows you to kind of write this. And as you take classes and as you move forward in your career path, you can always revise and change any one of these activities. You can retake the interest profiler. You can reselect on the connect to your world. And everything that you have will be carried and collected in your portfolio, which you can access at any time. So a couple examples, you can post your elevator speech or your change maker statement on the change maker wall. These are actual student postings of the change maker wall, and it gives you an example of how they combine their interests and what they care about into something they want to do in the future. So the Know Yourself Learning Center, which is how we started, is really about discovering who you are. And the second Learning Center is just connect with others. And it's just taking what you've done in the first Learning Center and it moves it forward with helping you understand how to talk to adults. This network map idea, if you guys are on social media, or that's a networking opportunity where you see who's doing what and your friends, you share what your interests are.
10 NASA centers plus some field sites all across the country. And so I'm located at one in Hampton, Virginia, which is on the coast. That was actually very important to our decision for moving here because I grew up in Florida by the water. And as Kevin mentioned, being distracted by weather, a really strong memory for me is the thunderstorms growing up in Tampa, because Tampa is the lightning capital of the world. And that was something that really interested me. And so I really thought I wanted to be a sports therapist when I was in high school. I really enjoy watching sports. I'm not actually super athletic myself, but I really like watching sports, and I had an interest in this idea of sports therapy. I was lucky enough to be able to recognize that, and I took a class and in sports therapy, and turns out it wasn't for me. And I got interested in this idea of lightning and thought a little further about it, and was fascinated that atmospheric scientists didn't fully understand lightning. And that was really powerful to me, this idea that you could have a job just trying to figure out how the world, how natural phenomenon occur, was so interesting. And in Florida, meteorology is taught at Florida State University, home of the Seminoles. And I had a high school teacher who I didn't even take. I'd never took one of his courses, but he heard that I was going there for meteorology. And he connected me with a professor at Florida State University. And that is how I got my first job ever, was he connected me with this professor. And I was a student researcher in his lab. And that professor happened to be the person who developed the GLOBE cloud protocol and the GLOBE relative humidity protocol. And so this idea of networking that Tracy mentioned about is really interesting to me, because I really think that every single job I've ever had was by someone telling me something about how to obtain that job, or that that post was even available. You know, I knew nothing that students could have part-time jobs at universities like this. And so he was my original connector to all of this and to the GLOBE program. So I was a GLOBE student there at Florida State. I also went outside, like hopefully many of you do, every day, taking temperature, aerosol observations, clouds, precipitation. I did all of that and was so interested. And thinking of that network was beyond just my peers. Peers actually make a great network, but also family members made a great network. I went to a church there, and church community make a great network. Also my hobbies and interests. I was in a dance company, and my fellow dancers were a great network. Even just telling me websites where jobs were even posted, and being able to tell me a little bit more about some of the different career paths. So that's how I really first started to become interested and make my way in meteorology. And ever since then, it's not been a direct path. I think oftentimes we think that there's one straight shot from elementary, middle, high school to working at NASA if that's your dream. And there are lots of people here at NASA who had a dream to work at NASA. I'm not one of them. I didn't know that that was a thing. I didn't know that there was an opportunity for me at NASA. And it's just been over years and taking on different experiences as they come that I've learned this. And something that I love about working at NASA is my career is not done. Right, I am just like you. I am still learning about my own strengths, my own weaknesses, what are the things that I like to do. And what's awesome is that evolves over time. And so I'm not exactly sure what I'll be doing in 10, 20 years from now. But I think it's important for everyone to think about that and know that sometimes your interests and skills change, and being able to articulate, to say what you like, what you don't like in a job, what your skills are, is so important. Tracy mentioned about that change maker statement. You know, even if you're applying for a job or an internship, maybe not something that you're even sure about, being able to speak about yourself in that way really is going to give you a leg up on everybody else who's applying for that. And I encourage you to take on those opportunities, because even if you don't like that internship, I bet you learned something about yourself in that internship. I bet you learned what you like, and a lot probably of also what you don't like. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking a look at some of the chat to see if there's questions that you have for me or for Tracy, or I guess any of us really on this call.
One thing Jessica said, which is was really interesting, I thought, that I feel as though we need to emphasize a little bit is knowing what you don't like is just as important, if not more, as knowing what you do like. And that really helps provide direction. I know we start to think about that when we choose our classes in high school. I don't like this, or I do like that. But continuing that recognition of what works for you and what doesn't work for you is really important in your own career pathway, in your own career development.
Yeah, one of the things I really encourage you is to think about those things that you don't like, is to think a little bit more about those things and think about whether or not it's the setting that you don't like them in, right? We want to say that we love all of our teachers, but we all know sometimes that's not true. And sometimes certain classes just don't work for us in that setting. And so one thing to really think about in terms of your opportunities in the future is to make sure to not close doors prematurely. So just because you don't like a math class right now doesn't mean you should steer completely away from math in high school or in college, right? Because a lot of the jobs in science or technology and engineering really require those as foundational classes. And so you want to make sure that you have those just so that way you can be able to explore those opportunities more. And it might be that that's not for you, but you want to make sure that that chance is still available to you. So make sure you take that. I see that some of you took some solar eclipse data. That's awesome. How amazing was that? If you were in the United States during that eclipse, here in Hampton, Virginia, we saw close to like the 83% totality. So I am itching to go see another solar eclipse in the near future, hopefully. I also collected data during the solar eclipse myself. I made a real commitment to watching the eclipse during the time of the eclipse and taking data. So I had my globe instrument shelter outside and I was tracking temperature and we were doing cloud observations. And it was really interesting to see the shift. And one thing that we noticed was we just had very slight little bit of cloud cover. And thinking through the science, if you don't have all of that heating, then you wouldn't have that convection to make those clouds for them to get bigger. And that really did happen in our area. So we just had a little bit of cumulus cloud cover. And during the eclipse itself, with the temperatures cooling down, we actually saw those go away. And we had clear skies right during and right after the eclipse. So that was really cool for us to kind of think about, oh, what do we think might happen? And those conditions happened right here in at our NASA site. So that was really fun. I'm glad you guys got a chance to see that too.
So Laura posted about the meteor, and if we could tell her about the sonic boom that occurred in Toledo. Did you hear about this, Jessica?
No.
Oh, okay, because it made the news around here a lot. And of course, I'm not a meteor person. There are people at the University of Toledo that are astronomers and they would know more about meteors. But what I heard about this is that it's called a bolide, and it was about 1 to 2 meters in diameter. So pretty big piece of rock. And from the speed, they felt it came from the asteroid belt and not a piece of a comet, because the comets move faster than the asteroids. And it was kind of going slowly, I guess. Only 28,000 miles an hour or something like that. That's so at this bolide, this 1 to 2 meters across, hit the atmosphere and then broke up, and it caused this big bright light in this area, Detroit and Toledo. People saw it here, but it also caused a sonic boom that registered on Richter scales, earthquake sensing, seismic equipment. Let's see. Oh, so Janet says that check channel 13. Alex Mack from the UT Planetarium has an interview. Yeah, so that's much better than what I could tell you. But what I guess the thing was, pieces of the meteor about the size of a golf ball or baseball, they feel made it to the Earth, which that's pretty big. If you got hit by it, that'd be a problem. So apparently then people are coming out this way to look for meteor fragments, and it's a big treasure hunt. They said Livingston County in Michigan was kind of the focal area. Anyway, that's what I know about it.
That's really cool. No, I also don't study meteors. Here at our NASA facility, one of the things that our site is known for is also our research in airplanes and aeronautics. And so, in fact, our facility does research this idea of sonic boom because we are capable of making airplanes that go that fast. But people in the general public don't really like the sonic boom sound. And so that's an area of research actually for us here at NASA Langley. That's what I mean by always kind of learning new things and figuring out what your interests are. And so I really hope you guys take advantage of the Green 360 and see sort of what those skills were and what those interests were identified. And I really like how you're able to like thumbs up or thumbs down some of those different careers, because the sooner you start thinking about some of these things, the better your chances are of being open even to some of these opportunities, like starting a high school job or an internship and things like that. I actually sort of feel like I fell a little behind in that because I have three degrees, which means I didn't know what I really wanted to do, right? So I went to Florida State for meteorology, for atmospheric science. I also got a degree in finance because I was a day trader. And then that's when I moved to education because I was fascinated in how people learn. And so now I think I actually have a job that encompasses all of those things, right? So I work at NASA in science education, where I take the atmospheric science that my colleagues really work on and help translate that into resources that teachers find useful and that students would be interested in. And so that is a perfect combination of my atmospheric science background and then the skills that I learned in education about how people learn. And of course, finance is important because I've got to balance a budget somewhere every now and again. So that's what I mean by, for me, I felt like I actually took a little longer to develop and figure out what was my perfect fit. And it's awesome to get an opportunity like this to be able to look at a website and start to imagine and start also to prep, as Tracy mentioned, your elevator speech. I shared on a call with the teachers on Wednesday night that it is not uncommon at NASA for someone in leadership to stop you in a hallway and ask you something about your job and where you want to be in 5 years. It actually happens pretty frequently. And as Kevin sort of identified, it's sort of an on-the-spot interview, which makes me very nervous. But the ability then in those moments when you get stopped, for me in the hallway, or for you maybe meeting someone in your network that you didn't know had a connection to a job that you're interested, to be able in that moment to be able to say, well, that's exactly what I'm interested in, and here's why. That's really powerful.
That's really, really cool, Jessica. So now I know where to go for my day trading questions.
I haven't done it in a long time.
Well, it's really, really interesting to hear about, everybody's career nowadays seems to take turns, right? We generally don't have an idea what we want to do and then stick with it our whole life. Sometimes people become teachers do, but not always. And I see like Janet and Tracy, who were teachers, now have become, education specialists and doing everything else under the sun. helping with this project.
And I would say that my original thought when I was in high school is that I was going to work for a company that created trees that would grow fast. That was my goal, is to work in a lab and do whatever kind of splicing I needed to do to propagate fast-growing trees. So I never did that, even though that's what I thought I would be doing.
Cool.
Yeah, sometimes people know right away, right? Sometimes you're able to quickly identify a passion, and that passion sticks with you for a long time. And then there's other times where you do get a chance to move around, and sometimes it's because your skills and interests sort of change, but other times it's just because it's part of your journey, right? And every step along that journey, learning something new.
All right, so Laura's students have to go. So maybe this is a good time to sign off. And I don't know if there's any questions from the group in Croatia.
Yeah, and thank you guys. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I know it's hard to do in the middle of the day too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.